Okay, let's get rolling, Casey. This is it. It's election night 2020. Worst election in the history of mankind. That's not true. And we need a distraction. So
Sure.
here we are. Let's
It'll
talk
be
some
over
Aggie
soon
football.
enough.
What's that? It'll be over soon enough.
Yeah, except
Yeah.
it won't. Except it won't. It's going to
Gonna
go
go
on
on
for
for
another
days,
week at least.
weeks,
Yeah.
months.
But that's okay. So yeah, let's talk football instead.
That is a
Uh,
great idea. And we've got a lot to talk about. We figured we would give some folks out there an opportunity to mute the television and talk about something interesting and entertaining and relevant right now because the Ags are kicking butt left and right. And Saturday was no different. But we're going to talk about a lot of different things.
I think
Right?
Saturday was different, but maybe we'll get to that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Oh,
So
tease.
just to
That's
get
called a tease.
that was a tease. And what we did Saturday night was not a tease. Not too many people joined us, but quite a few watched after the fact. We did 3 hours of post-game content. 3 hours.
Content.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we looked up about 1 o'clock in the morning. And our goal that night was to do what? What were we trying to do?
We were trying to make it all the way until Texags posted their post-game wrap-up, which is something we're always waiting on after the game. And we thought, well, we'll fill in the time in between.
Yeah.
And it took them 3 hours to put it up. So
Yeah,
please don't put us in that position again.
It was pretty brutal because not only were we waiting for Gabe and the gang to post the post-game wrap, we were enjoying a nice bottle of scotch, a victory scotch. And 3 hours of victory scotch puts you in a pretty compromised position.
Yeah, we're way too old for that.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie. Sunday was pretty brutal. So Gabe and the team, we need it. You got to come quick, man. You got to come quick with that stuff. We can't. I don't think we can survive another post game like that. But anyway, tonight we're not going for 3 hours. We sure as hell better not. I got to get him to go to work tomorrow.
I've lost your.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're already having technical difficulties. That's not good. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, well, I can hear myself and had a few folks join us and then they bailed on us already. So that's okay. We'll probably have a few more drop in. Can you hear me? I can hear you. No. This is brutal. We're switching from Bluetooth to the computer audio live on
I
air.
don't know what's going on.
Now I can hear you. I think your Bluetooth just shut off. That's all.
Yeah.
So give it a go. Anyway, while you're doing that, I'm going to run through the run sheet. First thing we're going to hit is we're going to look back on Saturday. We're going to talk real quick about the Arkansas game, a big victory for the Ags. And we've had a lot more to digest since then. So the no huddle has been out. Coast Ag has posted defense in review and offense in review. We've had film room with Stephen McGee. And man, all of that's been great. And there's plenty to talk about there. And then we figure we'll pivot to State of the Union, just talk about the whole season so far. Where are we? Are we where we thought we were going to be as a football team? And then we're going to pivot to a special topic tonight, and that is the O-line play. Okay, so it's a pandemic out there, and so far every team we've played has been getting rolled over by the offensive line. Maybe we'll spend some time on the polls and then talk about November. November used to be hell for the Aggies, but under Jimbo Fisher, this football team gets better every back half of the season. And we're going to look at what's ahead. And then we're going to spend some more time talking about Jimbo and cover the topic. Jimbo, is he worth every penny? We're going to fact check that. Casey, you've been doing some really good work talking about salaries and what's going on in college football. And then the last topic, fake news. Is Texas back after the big win against Oklahoma State? So, Casey, are you back? Can you hear me? No, can't hear you. You are on mute. I can see it from here. Man, you are now unmuted, and I still can't hear you. For all those out there listening, if you're watching, and I know you're not, good luck. We got some folks coming in. All right. We have to see what's going on here. Who's coming in? I got Katie Finney joining us from the Tex Ags Premium Forum. Let's see. Katie, are you there? Nope. Katie's gone. And Casey, your audio is still not working. And you're back on mute. Casey's getting the rundown from the rest of the people in his house.
I'm sorry. Oh gosh, now I can't even hear you.
You're back. I can hear you. So
yeah, but the problem is now they're using the.
Well, that's better than not being able to hear you at all. So we'll roll with that.
Okay.
That will work just fine.
All right.
So the real question is, are we still live on Facebook? Because my live feed cut out. So you'll have to let me know what you're seeing.
You mean YouTube?
Yeah. You see it?
Let me go. There we go.
Okay. We're producing on air.
Yeah, still see it.
All right.
Still
Sounds
shows
good.
So
Good work. You're in charge of monitoring that. I've got enough to look after over here on my side. So, all right. So we said we would start off. We were going to turn our attention back to last Saturday, talk a little bit about that game. You've had a chance to digest a lot of what happened. You know, Saturday night was all about instant reaction. We've seen a lot of film. We've seen a lot of different reviews of the game. So what stood out to you in the 42-31 victory over Arkansas?
The thing that really stood out to me, it didn't really feel like it watching it live for whatever reason, was that when you go back over the stats, Kellen Mond threw for was it 260 or 280? It was in that range. He was like 21 of 26, I think. Because it felt to me watching it live like he must have thrown for 400 yards just because of how effective the offense was. But a fairly small passing yards total. And that goes back to what you were talking about before the game, where you said, Jimbo is who he is. He's going to try to be balanced. And we thought, well, he should probably commit to the run more. And it turned out it was a pretty good strategy on his part because if you look at Pittman's comments after the game, you could tell he was pretty frustrated. Or was that Odom's press conference? I think it was Pittman talking about the defense. Yeah?
Yeah, I know it was. He was just talking about how difficult it was. The journalists were questioning him, saying, hey, you guys have been so great on third down. The defense has generated all these turnovers. What made A&M so difficult to defend? And frankly, the dude looked like just a beaten horse.
Yeah, and he really said, he says, well, everything they did worked. Nothing we tried worked. They tried to drop three. They couldn't generate or to rush three, and Mond picked them apart. They tried to bring pressure, and we blocked it. They tried to stack the box, and we ran it anyway, or we threw it past them. And you could tell just the balanced attack and the kind of varied skill players. Just we're kind of finally getting to that point where teams are trying to pick their poison, and it doesn't matter what they do, unless you're a really, really good defense with a lot of elite playmakers. This offense can beat you in a number of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think what we saw was just that incredible efficiency, and it all starts up front. The offensive line play was pretty outstanding again. I will say, going back and watching it and watching some of Kostag's review and the film room, there were some times during the game where particularly the right side of the offensive line gave up a lot of pressure. You don't see that from the left side. And that just brings up my stud of the game was Kenyon Green. Yeah. That guy is playing out of his mind right now. He's so fast at the guard position that you'll watch him block two or three guys in two or three different places in a play. He's really good at, doubling down on the guy that he needs to double down on and handing him off. Like he's using his leverage to put the center in a really good spot. And then he'll instantly bounce outside and take care of somebody looping around or whatever. And he just cleans it up.
Yeah.
It's brutal to watch. He is unbelievable right now.
Yeah, I would imagine it was pretty frustrating on the part of Arkansas coaches.
Yeah, and Kellen was, there's been a lot written about Kellen Mond and how he played against Florida and dipping back down against Mississippi State. But man, he came roaring back, and watching it again, just incredibly efficient, but putting the right amount of touch on the ball.
Yeah.
Right, he was throwing over defenders. He was dropping balls into space, in between corners and safeties, or just making sure he's taking advantage of the fact that a guy's 6'5" and can get up in the air. And that's not always been the case.
No.
Right. And you can tell he's working on it, and he's getting used to what these guys can do, and just makes them all that more effective.
Yeah. And when he was putting zip on the ball, he was making it look effortless. Maybe that pass down the sideline for the first touchdown, right? To Anias.
Yep.
Holy cow. He just, and you can tell he's looking off the safety, he's trying to hold the coverage over to the left side a little bit. And then in a split second, turns back, fires that ball down the sideline, and just it's like it was nothing to him. And the other thing I loved about that play that stood out to me was how poised Kellen Mond was, because we ran really heavy play action on that, even with the blocking scheme. Remember, they were pulling Kenyon Green.
Pulled Green
and talking about the speed of him to get over there to the unblocked guy.
Yep.
And kind of collapse him down and move him over to the other side of the pocket. And it didn't faze Kellen at all.
Kellen was like, I know he's got him. Yeah, between him and Spiller, no problem.
No, we're fine. I just got to wait just a hair here until Anias breaks open, and then I'm just going to, turn 10 degrees to my right and just fire a strike. That was
what that pass reminded me of? I haven't seen a throw like that from Kellen since going all the way back to LSU 2 years ago, to tie the game at the end of regulation. You remember the pass right over the middle.
To Courtney Davis.
Courtney Davis catches it, just this beautiful post, and it was such a out of his mind rifle shot, and that's what that throw looked like to me. To the right side, and that just tells you what he's capable of with clear mind and just let it go. Right? Yeah, clean pocket, clear mind. It all goes together. But man, just fantastic. And we saw one later in the game it was the 3rd and 17 play, right? To Jalen Wiedermeyer to 85. That's a 18, 19 yard throw. I mean, it's really 25, 26, with him back in the pocket. And it was a rifle shot. I mean, it was great. And, again, completely clean pocket. He had the time to make that throw. But even when he didn't, he was able to put the touch under the ball, make the pass, and make the play over and over and over again.
They dropped
it was a good night.
So, you just knew the window was going to be small, if there was a window at all. So you're going to have to let it go and trust your guy. And he did. Yeah, that was and I said earlier, okay, actually I think it was different on Saturday, something we actually haven't seen in quite a while around here. And that was, you should score 6 straight touchdowns sometimes on an overmatched opponent.
Yeah, no kidding.
Shouldn't we have been able to do that against Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Or how many other schools, even in the first 3 years of Jimbo, and not done it?
Right.
So, this team's starting to really click. You mentioned Jimbo's teams get better as the year goes on. And
that really does bring a good point, because I think we forget some things, right? Jimbo has a way of coaching his football team, and he coaches them process get better, get stronger, get mentally stronger as the season goes on. And what always felt like, if you think back to the previous regime, is we saw a bunch of out of the gate, blow your doors off performances under Sumlin and with that kind of attack. It was like they spent all summer, all offseason preparing for the first game and the first opponent. And they were really effective at it. You think back to what they did to South Carolina, what they did in the first 3 quarters against UCLA. But then what happened with that football team was, when the other team made the adjustment, you couldn't respond, right? Because you spent all your time preparing for doing things one way. And then as everybody figured you out as the season went on, it just got less and less effective. But under Jimbo Fisher, and we'll get to this later, it's all about that process and cleaning up the little things. That's why the man's never happy, right? He'll tell you he's happy in the press conference, but he's not. He's not happy. And you're starting to hear his players echo that in their post-game press conferences or the midweek press conference, that, how good are we? Well, we got a long way to go. We got, so much we can clean up. We're never going to be where we want to be because there's always something. Yeah. I love hearing that.
I do too. And, these Arkansas games have gone the way they've gone. And it's not, the last 9, but even the last 3 with a guy like Jimbo, or the 2 previous, those little things that aren't clean keep a team like this that wants you real bad, that keep them in the game. And we didn't have any of that this weekend.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely. So I guess, let's talk a little bit about just state of the union, right? So what does it look like all the way up to this point? We talked about the Arkansas game, but what have you seen that it leaves you really, really encouraged at the mid-season point? Because we're right there. Unfortunately, I can't believe it's already here. But we've only got a little over half a season left. What's the most encouraging part of this football team?
Well, it's what we've been talking about with the balance of the offense and how it really seems to be coming together. An offensive line that is, emerging as one of the best in the conference. And it's allowing us to really see what the Jimbo offense is all about in terms of being able to beat you in multiple ways and having the balance.
The key to great offensive line play is if you create that pocket and you get in the passing game, you create the pocket. In the running game, you're pushing dudes, right? And you're taking care of all your gaps, and you're churning out 5 or 6 yards at a time. You're really starting to see those mismatches open up, right? So Anais on linebackers and 85 getting downfield, 15, 20 yards downfield, and he's just a total, nobody can really take that away from you with that kind of speed and that kind of size, right? So yeah, you are starting to see it. And I do remember thinking back to how you think about that national championship year with the Seminoles under Fisher and what that looked like. You had these just big old monster dudes running downfield, and you had a quarterback who could absolutely uncork it at any moment, put it up for those guys, and they'd go get it. But they were mismatches for their opponents. Couldn't deal with that, and I love seeing it. I'll tell you the one thing that does concern me, and I thought we had started to turn a bit of a corner, is the defense. I'm a little bit worried with some of the things we saw, not all of the things we saw on Saturday. And it's just been it's been pretty inconsistent. And, I think we saw some things from a couple of guys talking about film that jump out at you real quick. What's your biggest concern with defense?
Well, no, I don't want to. Well, whatever. I don't want to jump all over too many guys, right? But you mentioned Kostag's defense review, and and I brought this up in the pregame, right? Mississippi State didn't stress that kind of linebacker / nickel guy as much as Florida did, and maybe Kendall Briles might try to. And we saw in kind of the film breakdown that, yeah, some of the more frustrating plays were due to just guys not sticking to their assignments and getting themselves way out of position and losing their spot over it in the middle of the game and then having to come back in because the guy that took their spot got ejected, right?
Right.
And
yeah,
so,
I think some of that was just not having some dudes in uniform and not having, Eric Young was out again, a dude who's been, who started to flash, and then losing Antonio Johnson really hurt. So yeah, and then a couple of guys coming in that had made these mistakes in the past and who can't seem to get that eye candy out of their vision and really focus on their assignment. And it did cost us. And they saw that on film. They took advantage.
Yeah. And we have teams left on the schedule like Ole Miss, a guy like Lane Kiffin that is going to see that mismatch on film, and he's going to have a plan to exploit it. To a lesser extent, maybe Auburn. That they attack you in a similar way, and if you're not ready for it, we think we should win that game, maybe. But that's the kind of stuff you've got to clean up if we hope to do what everybody wants to do and run the table.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about Ole Miss and Auburn a little more here coming up, but and we've already talked about the O-line, but let's talk about where A&M is in the context of college football in general, because there's a heck of a lot of talk about that right now. People are talking about A&M, running the table. Can they backdoor into the playoff? They're up to number 7 in at least one poll, if not both, if I remember correctly. You got the Pac-12 coming back into play. The Big Ten is a total mess, canceling games left and right. So there's a ton of unknowns. But, the Ags are trending upward and they're getting a lot of attention. And, is that warranted? I think it is. So, we notice all the warts on our own football team, but, we're not sitting here pointing everything out for every other team in the top 10 or even that top 12 to 15 when all that can come into play. I don't know how you feel about it. I feel like they're right where they should be, and every opportunity is in front of them. Just keep winning and they'll just keep climbing.
Yeah. That's really kind of all you can say about it, is that it is all out there in front of them. I'm pretty confident that if we could somehow go 9-1, that the scenarios will probably play out in a way that got us into the playoff. But, at this point, that's a big if. But people are right to kind of point that out and to ask the question. And, I heard the guys on the hard line up here in DFW talking about it today, and kind of what's in front of us. And, they should go 9-1. And the SEC is garbage right now. And I think we know that that's kind of foolish. A couple of teams look silly. I even heard, Corby's trying to say that we got a massive talent advantage over everyone with Auburn. Tried to say that about freaking Auburn.
Right.
Who, for all their problems, there's a reason we try to count them out every 2 or 3 years, right? And say, boy, their program's trash now. And then they just come right back.
Auburn's loaded. They're loaded. They recruit at a top 10 level.
Yeah.
It's talent is not their problem.
No.
Talent, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It's all right there in front of you. You're probably as far as the dark horses go, you're probably in the best position of anybody else in the country.
Right.
And so you want to go get it. But there's some pretty big roadblocks in front of you. And, that's probably okay if it doesn't happen. But I'm just glad that we're trending in that direction.
So we are trending in that direction. And, this kind of sets up the next topic, which is November. November used to scare the crap out of the Aggies. The Aggie fan base, as soon as Halloween happened, we flip into November, everybody start freaking out because, man, we knew what was coming. Usually because our schedule was pretty loaded on the back end, right? But I think we all could see what was going on with our football team, and we could see the physical toll it was taking on them, and we could see the play degenerating, and nobody ever felt good about it. But under Fisher, the opposites happened. We already talked about this a little bit before.
Yeah.
These football teams get better, they get stronger. You can tell there's competition in practice, and if somebody goes down, somebody's able to step in, and there's that mentality of next man up, let's go get it. It's a process. And so, the first one up is South Carolina. I think South Carolina's kind of been up or down, but it is a game you should go win. It's a game you should absolutely go on the road and be able to be who you are and take care of the football, be who you are, and come out victorious and come home and be ready for the next one.
I agree, and I think this is a game where we're going to see a different philosophy. Like you said, Jimbo is trying to build his team to win in multiple ways, and we're probably going to see a little bit more conservative team on the road. This is and frankly against a team that tends to scheme you pretty well.
Yep.
Muschamp tends to have especially against us for some reason. So yeah, you're gonna have to play clean. You can't give away opportunities, but I expect it to be kind of tight and lots of complaints on Texags about
the meltdown will come. Yeah,
meltdown will come, absolutely. But I think this one doesn't worry me as much as the Arkansas game did.
Right. Now, well, that's
Is
wow,
that
that's a big statement.
We just saw against Arkansas? Yeah.
That's a big statement, because going on the road has been a challenge, and the offense has struggled at times on the road, and the defense isn't playing lights out to give me a hell of a lot of confidence in that unit. But they're all going to have to show up. You have to play a clean game. You're going to have to get better, like we said, and then after that, you got Tennessee on the road, traveling to Knoxville, a place we've never been. I'm actually trying to head to that game, so we'll figure something out for the post-game show. It's a spot I've always wanted to check out on the SEC. Junket, whatever. I don't know.
Who knows when we'll be back?
Yeah, but then you brought up Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is after that. Ole Miss is the team on the schedule. That game, if I'm looking at the next three, that's the one that really scares me. And it's like you said, because Lane Kiffin attacks. And he's got nothing to lose. He's going to attack like crazy. And he's really good at it. And you never know what's going to happen when you play a team like that is that dangerous. If that makes sense.
I mean, that one is at home. And now we're getting starting to get the Kyle Field Kellen kind of moniker going, right?
And we've got 100,000 people in the stands, evidently.
I heard it was 150.
Oh, well, that feels about right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those games where if you can line up and you can run the ball and you can run it right at Ole Miss, hold on to the ball and punish them and keep that offense over there for 7-8 minutes at a time, you're probably going to be okay. But it's not one of those you can come out and turn the ball over or start going 3 and outs. And give those guys, any kind of rhythm. You're playing with fire.
The defense is not good. I mean,
they're not.
They're not. I know Alabama's Alabama, but even Arkansas, put up yards on them. But really, that game came down to, there were 6 interceptions. I think someone counted it up. Really, when you include getting stomped on 4th down, it was really like 11 turnovers.
Right.
Not those as turnovers. I mean, they ran all over the field on Arkansas. They scare you, but they are not playing good defense, regardless.
Well, and so look, beyond Ole Miss, you've got LSU and you've got Auburn hanging out back there on the back end of the schedule. I don't even know what to think about those games. I think in this league with the way the schedule's set up, it's really not even worth thinking that far out, because I'm still not convinced that, the teams we play, the Auburn team and the LSU team that we play at the end of November is probably going to be quite different than the one we've seen so far. And those narratives can change quick with those two programs. That's what we've seen. So I'm not going to bother even, trying to think about 9-1. Let's take care of what's immediately in front of us the next couple of weeks. Jimbo would say this week. Jimbo doesn't even know who we play. He has no idea. He didn't know what our schedule looks like. Somebody told him on Saturday night when the game was over, well, now you're playing South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how it went. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, next one up, man. Next one up.
We have Arkansas next week. No, Jimbo. That was tonight. Oh, all right.
There you go. Well, we'll see what happens. So, Casey, we did this Saturday night, so we're not gonna spend too much time on it. I think we did it for about an hour and a half. Okay, but it still popped up, even some this week. I will tell you this: of all of your tweets at Meltdown Egg on Twitter, this one seems to be getting the most attention, and that was the Jimbo salary comparison. So a lot of noise, a lot of chatter out there. Everybody always still brings up the contract, but so far, when you look around college football and how much money is being paid in buyouts for bad decisions, Jimbo's a bargain.
He is a bargain. I brought up the last two coaches at Texas, or I guess I'm counting Tom Herman as the last coach. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he's earned the right to stick around. We'll see. But
I hope so.
Yeah. 10 days ago or whatever, he was not long for this world. And with his buyout, his total cost to the university per season was going to be over $10 million. When you count his buyout from Houston, his salary at Texas, and the buyout money they were going to pay, which is at minimum $15 million. I've seen rumors that there's other pieces that are like another $5 or $6 million. But if you say the minimum 15 or whatever, $40 million for 4 seasons of Tom Herman. Go back before that, same deal with Charlie Strong. When you include that buyout to fire him, it was $30 million for 3 seasons. So if you go on the high end of what people were speculating the buyout of Herman would be in that scenario, they're actually going to hit $75 million in 7 seasons instead of 10. And I would submit to you that really, there's no way Jimbo's only making $7.5 million a year 5 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely not. If things keep trending in the direction they're going, we're going to be paying the man more money.
But regardless, I look at the salaries of championship winning coaches and the 7.5 per year, his record warrants that. And people want to be like, well, it doesn't make sense. You're paying him that, but he hasn't done anything for you. Well, it doesn't matter. And by the way, you would never think that way when you're moving jobs, right? You expect to get paid commensurate with your record in any job. And so, that's what it costs to hire him away. That's what it costs for a championship winning coach right now. In fact, it's cheaper. Look at, of course, Dabo and Saban have had much bigger runs, but, his 7.5 reflects that. And the funnier thing is, everyone says, well, yeah, that's Texas. They've got a lot of money. They've got really high expectations. And so they're going to throw that kind of money around. Well, the team we just got done playing spent, when you fire a guy after 2 seasons, you only paid him $3.5 million a year, but you paid him $10 million to go away. So you paid him $8.5 million per year. So tell me again how Jimbo is not worth the money.
Right. Absolutely.
So, as I say, paying great coaching is cheap and firing coaches is expensive. I know our buddy Rick's not watching, our Florida fan, but Jim McElwain paid him $27 million over 3 seasons, $9 million a year. And who knows? I don't know what's going to happen with Dan Mullen, but
wow,
starts too many more brawls.
It's not a good week for Dan Mullen.
Not a good week for Dan Mullen. You think they'll ever get tired of that? I don't know.
Yeah, you better keep winning, because that's the kind of stuff that when you're not winning, man, that really comes back to bite you. It's just weird. That was a weird episode all the way around, and wearing the Darth Vader costume in the post game and running his mouth about COVID and everything else, and I don't know. It hasn't been a great couple of weeks, really.
But I'm certainly rooting for him.
Yeah, why not?
Particularly this weekend.
Yeah.
For what it could do for the Ags. We could probably cover that later, but I was texting our buddy today, what's the deal with these suspensions? They're going to hurt you this weekend?
We need you.
We need you.
We need you to win out. Come on. Take care of business. Yeah, there are some big matchups this weekend that really could help the Aggies in the polls if they go take care of business. But I think what we said earlier still holds true. It didn't matter. Doesn't matter what happens in those games. Somebody's going to lose between Notre Dame and Clemson. So somebody in front of you is going to drop down a little bit. But like I said, you just keep winning. It really doesn't matter what happens this weekend. So the ones you got to worry about, you got to look at what happens in the Pac-12 and if Ohio State gets to play all their football games or not. And then you got these outliers, the Cincinnatis and BYUs of the world, which give me a freaking break. I've watched enough of that, and I'm hopeful the college football committee's watched enough of that to make a reasonable evaluation of those teams. But you never know. It's a weird year, man. 2020 just keeps giving back. So,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, you want to keep going on Jimbo? We got a little bit off on the. But
no, man. Pay the man his money. I love it. It's been a bargain.
We got plenty of time this season to.
It's not my money anyway.
At some point, we've got to talk this word expectations, the word that drives me absolutely insane. But, short story to unpack later is there's absolutely nothing wrong with A&M's expectations. You can whine about it all you want, but we have big expectations and we should. So,
yeah, absolutely. And we're doing everything that we can to meet them.
Right.
So,
well, yeah. And that's my thing, not to get too far down a rabbit hole, but the word expectations is used all the time when it comes to A&M and what we expect out of our coaches. The word they're using is expectation. And if that were the correct word to use, then they would be right, except the way they're using it, what they really mean is entitlement. They're saying, well, we expect all this stuff, but the way they're saying it, what they really mean is we think we're entitled to it. And we do expect all of those things, but we do not think we are entitled to it. And that's what hiring a guy like Jimbo is all about. We expect that we can be a top program in this country with the resources we have and being located where we are. We expect we can be that. The school in Austin thinks they're entitled to it. And so they think they can basically hire anybody and the recruits will just come and they're entitled to be winning. And that's why they're melting down like they are now. And it's why they're probably waking up to the fact they aren't entitled to it and they're going to have to pay Urban Meyer an unseemly amount of money to get it. When before, that was just something the crazy Aggies would do to try and buy their way because they're not really a top program. But anyway.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I think I'm going to back it up and watch it about 5 or 6 times tonight. And it's a great segue to the last topic, which is fake news. Texas is back. Big win this weekend up in Stillwater against a exceptional, top 10 Oklahoma State, who, having watched some of their games, they're a good football team. And they actually played really well on Saturday. Oklahoma State did. They outgained Texas by a significant amount of yards. I think I was texting you early in that game saying, man, Oklahoma State, when they have the ball, it looks easy. It absolutely looked easy for them. But they kept making mistakes. They kept shooting themselves in the foot with bad turnovers. The first turnover, was just a bad handoff that Texas, jumped on top of and got points out of. And I think at some point in the game, they had the 4 turnovers and 21 points off those 4 turnovers. And even then late in the game, when they had control of the football game, they stopped Texas on a 4th down late in the 4th quarter, going to make them punt and, burn some clock, close the gap. And then the guy comes in, and actually doesn't even dive at the punter. He just falls down. And of course, that punter, takes the really long stride and comes down and gets the penalty. So good for them, right? They, all right, fine. But another critical error, and Texas goes right down the field and scores. They took advantage of it. And that's what they'll do to you. That seems to be the Sam Ehlinger special, is if you start giving them opportunities late in football games, he comes and does what he couldn't do for 3.5 quarters. But it doesn't erase the fact of what we've seen from that team and what we think we're going to see the rest of the year. So in my opinion, Texas is not back, but they might be back enough just to piss off their fan base.
Yeah.
Maybe buy Herman one more season with a cratering recruiting class that he's not going to be able to turn around.
No.
Not at all.
No, you can't turn that around. There's not,
Some people could turn it around. Tom Herman cannot turn that around.
No.
Because everything that Tom Herman has built at Texas is about generating momentum through the media, through the social media stuff, seemingly able to get these recruits, especially the ones that kind of have this bad chip on their shoulder and who like to get out and kind of make a spectacle of themselves. And it kind of gets this weird momentum thing going. And then it's the hashtags and then it's everything else. And man, and so he generates that momentum that way. And when that falls apart, you can't pick that back up.
Mm-hmm.
You got to wait till the next cycle. So I think they're still in quite a bit of trouble. It's just whether or not he can win enough games to buy himself another year. Because it does go back to what you're talking about earlier. That's an expensive proposition.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be paying Urban Meyer $8-9 million a year.
No.
You're effectively going to be paying him a lot more than that.
Yeah. I would think, you're probably looking at 10 plus, right? I think he's going to want whatever Saban is making. And he's going to want, they might want $100 million guaranteed. Jimbo got 75.
Right.
I
You
want
want to pull
100.
me off the yacht? I'm doing live studio segments from the yacht.
Yeah. I work like 3 hours a week.
Can I coach from a boat in Lake Austin? Can we do that? Maybe. Who knows what they're going to be willing to put up with?
Yeah.
So, yeah, rough road ahead. All right, man. I said I wasn't staying up all night. We've been about 45 minutes in. Unless there's, what else is on your mind?
I don't know.
Nothing.
I want to talk about how Texas is going to lose 3 more games. That's what I want to talk about.
Hey, Iowa State, Kansas State, West Virginia. And then Kansas, man. You always got to watch out for Kansas if you're Texas. Got to sweat that one out. Wow. Can you only imagine?
I couldn't help myself and went back over the poll tracker because trying to figure out why Kansas State is still ranked. And they've got as high as 10 by some people. Even Kurt Bowles isn't the highest ranking guy for Kansas State, but several in like the 20 range. And I'm sitting here looking at it and going, none of you people that have them in the top 20 have West Virginia anywhere in this picture. So what is it that you're seeing that makes you think that they've now lost to that West Virginia team? And Arkansas State, I can't get over it. Arkansas State. lost to Arkansas State. Top 10.
Yeah. Unbelievable. None of it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Anyway.
Unbelievable. All right, man. I don't want to talk about Texas anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's time to shut it down. We gave ourselves a nice little distraction. We didn't have to watch the news. But it's probably time. It's probably time to go check in and see where the fate of the free world rests this evening.
It's not time to check in until next Tuesday.
Yeah. Hang on. I just want to check in so I get an idea of where all of the riots are likely to come from. So I know which areas to avoid if I'm traveling around the country randomly over the next couple of weeks.
I think we're okay in DFW.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be fine. Hey, man, it is what it is. I'm just fully expecting A&M's gonna run the table. Okay, they're gonna run the table, and then they're gonna win the first round, the college football playoff. They're gonna make it to the championship game. Okay, and then we're gonna have all out Armageddon right before the championship game. Probably like in the middle of the fourth quarter when they're up 21 and Jimbo is just running out the clock. Okay. We're just chewing up time. Battered Aggie syndrome says.
Yeah.
Then it's the four horsemen.
Montana.
The skies are going to open up, man.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The aliens will land. They'll land at midfield. Be like, no, it's not going to happen. That's how this year. That's how it's going to go.
That's how it ends for us.
Yeah, it's all aliens. All right, dude. Happy election night, and gig 'em. Beat the hell out of South Carolina.
Yeah.
And we're out.
All right. Bye-bye.